Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
The 8 competitors in the Kibaki succession contest converged at the Brookhouse School for a second showdown ahead of their grand face-off at the ballot on Monday next week. The debate, moderated by Citizen TV's Udo Akamimo and KTN's Joe Ageo, the 8 presidential flag bearers dealt at length with the land ownership and allocation question that has elicited emotions in the political circles, and the man on the spot was Jubilee's Uhuru Kenyatta.
For instance, my friend Uhuru Kenyatta, the family is one of the largest, if not the largest, landowners in Kenya. And if it comes to resettlement of squatters, we'll be targeting idle land, seeking to compensate the owners where appropriate. And I do honestly believe, even as I stand here, that for that reason, such a person would be less suited to implement the what people expect of the land, whatever.
Mr. Kenyatta, do you own, or your family at least, own half of Kenya?
I think I'll begin by saying I'd be very keen for my honorable sister here to take me to that land, because then maybe I can begin doing something about it. First and foremost, this issue of land is a very emotive issue in Kenya. And unfortunately, the manner in which it has been handled has not been a very professional or a manner that is really seeking to find solutions.
And the land question would not just go away.
I wanted to give my brother Uhuru a concrete example. Taita Taveta, his family and one Basil Criticals literally own most of the land. And recently, he is reported as having given the Tavetas 4,000 acres. Now, how would he deal with that issue? Because the Tavetas need to be rescued from being squatters.
We own 30,000 acres as a family in Taita Taveta. He's mentioned it, that's correct. But in no way do we own, as they say, the province. The largest landowner in Taita Taveta County is actually the government of the Republic of Kenya, and also the trust lands that are there.
In defense of my brother Uhuru Kenyatta, he was just an innocent inheritor. He did not commit the original sin. And I think the country should sympathize with him.
Let me put it plainly. There's no way we can hide what one owns in terms of land in this country.
So how much land does your family own? Because there is a contention here. Some people are saying it's half the country. Some people have said 500,000. Probably tonight is an opportunity for you to clear this matter once and for all.
My family and myself own land. And I personally also own land. And we consider land to be a factor of production. We have not, in any place, acquired any land illegally.
Odinga too had a barrage of questions to respond to on the molasses plant in Kisumu and how Spectra International, a company linked to his family, acquired the plant and the land on which it is built.
This plant was acquired through an auction. The company participated in an auction along with 15 other companies. It came out as the highest bidder.
The integrity of the presidential candidates was also put on the spotlight, with the skeletons of alleged involvement in major scandals being unleashed.
And so, Mr. Mwite, I'll start with you.
Sure.
Because in the 90s, Kamlesh Patni alleged that he gave you a bribe of 20 million shillings.
It is absolutely not true. I and Professor Nyang' Nyong'o were the ones who broke out this issue of Golden Bar. The system then focused on me. And let me tell you, some of us have had to pay very high prices.
Mudavadi was put to task on the 2 mega scams that cost the Kenyan taxpayer billions of shillings: the Anglo leasing and the Golden Bag scams. The multi-million shillings Nairobi City Council cemetery scam was also haunting the Amani Coalition candidate.
And I was appointed to the Treasury in 1993 when the Golden Bag scheme was in force. So what did I do? I terminated it.
Odinga also had a litany of questions to respond to in relation to alleged scandals that were said to have emanated from his office, the Kazi kwa Vijana project, as well as the maize scandal.
After ambitious programs originating from the office of the Prime Minister that have unfortunate ends. Could you please clarify this for the sake of our viewers?
the action was actually taken against the officers who were found to have been culpable. The World Bank also did an audit of this particular program, and the World Bank actually eventually gave it a clean bill of health.
Karua was on the spot for allegedly failing to protect the whistleblowers on grand corruption during her tenure at the Justice Ministry.
I will then question your treatment of whistleblowers in this country because, of course, they have been the ones who've alerted us to corruption in the country.
Yeah. May I say that I became Minister of Justice December 2005. If you remember, John Githongo announced he had left the country January of that year. So he was not around the country to demand or look for any protection. Munyekei was earlier than I was Minister for Justice.
Dida too was on the spot for ferrying Kenyans to the Middle East to do manual jobs.
And we've all seen, the images of, people and the way they're treated in the Middle East. Is this correct? Is this right?
Kenya is very rich in human resource, and the world is in need of this gift that God has blessed with Kenya.
Kenyatta's tenure at the Finance Ministry was also questioned, especially over the infamous computer era saga during the budget-making process.
The newspapers report this in quotes that resulted in millions of shillings being lost within the budget that you presented to Parliament. Could you explain that?
Let me first begin by saying that there was no money lost. And even as the media has reported it, as you've correctly stated, it was an error. We acknowledged that particular error. The matter was investigated by both the Parliamentary Committee, the IMF.
Professor James Ole Kiapi was challenged on the alleged embezzlement of the free primary education funds, while Kenneth had to account for his time as the managing director of the Kenya Reinsurance, as well as his heydays as the Kenya Football Federation chairman.
The issue was not me approving money, which I was not confident of. The issue was to be sure that the government or the public resources were spent correctly. And that was my role. In fact, if anything, I protected public resources.
We had no funding from government at all, and the entire funding was coming from 3 corporate sponsors, Kenya Breweries, BAT, and SmithKline Beechams, and their own officers were signatories of any money spent for KFF together with our Secretary General. And when I left, we left an audited account and 11 million shillings in the bank.
The integrity debate ending with one of Dida's nuggets.
Thank you for your sincerity pertaining your questions on integrity and leadership. But did you expect a thief to tell you I've stolen?
So thank you very much.